𝗪𝗡𝗀𝗀𝗃.
This is something that I personally haven't had any dark, deep interest in, whether Earth is flat or round and what the construct is of this universe that we're in. And so even though we didn't get a chance to get you guys both on, I would love to know if you could construct for me your understanding of what the construct of reality is that we are in. Is the Earth flat? Is it round? Are we getting information that's incorrect or from other dimensions? How to come about this information?
Okay, well, let me start off with by saying that, flat, round, square, whatever is irrelevant. Doesn't matter. It's not even an important question. That's not what it's all about. What it's all about is you getting rid of your fear. That's what it's all about, is you growing up, you becoming a person of love, a person that's interested in how can I help? What can I do? Not, what's in it for me? That's the growth path. So that is the important thing. Now, whatever way you want to construe things within that understanding, that growth path, it doesn't really matter. If you can make choices in a flat world and grow up, well, fine. If you can make choices in a round world and grow up, well, that's fine too. So my first comment would be, it doesn't really matter. That's not really an important thing to worry about, whether, the geometry of the world. Now, actually, there is, if you look at what is reality, you'll see that reality is just information. Now, information isn't flat. Information isn't round. Information is just information. So you get information, and that information describes what happens within a certain rule set. Okay, so you could be dreaming, rule set's very loose. You could be in this reality we call the physical universe, rule set's very tight. Okay, so now the information that you're going to get in a data stream about this world, we call the physical universe, that's pretty tight. You have rules. Now, those rules, as far as I can tell, they require this to be a 3D reality. It is a 3D reality. Okay, it's not flat. We're not in flatland. We have 3 dimensions to our world. In a 3D reality, then things move and coalesce in certain ways. It's just the way it is. You have the rules of physics and chemistry and biology. And that says that, the Earth is not obviously a sphere, but it's spherical. It's kind of roundish, like, it bulges at the equator, it sucks in at the poles because of various things. It's not uniform density. It's liquid in the core, so it slushes this way and that. So, but it's kind of spherical, and so is the sun, and so are the things. That's because in 3 dimensions, if you take a drop of water in a zero gravity place, let's say you go in, one of these airplanes that does a dive, and for a minute it's zero gravity. Well, if you take a drop of water and squeeze it out of an eyedropper, what does that water do? It collects in little balls. If you run atmosphere by it, if you blow over it, well, then it'll kind of go in a fat head and off to a skinny tail, because that's the airstream is, kind of puts it in that shape. That's the shape of least resistance. So that's just the rule set, how our rules work. So yes, basically things here in 3-dimensional reality are like that. Now we have, X, Y, and Z. If you were in Flatland, you could read the book Flatland, and Abbott describes what it's like in Flatland. Well, you don't see that 3rd dimension. You can only see in 2 dimensions. So we live in 3D reality. In 3D reality, with the rule set we have, I would say that things tend to be spherical. They tend to be roundish. That's just the nature of our rule set and gravity and the way gravity works. So now you can imagine all sorts of other ways that it might be, where there's some kind of synthetic gravity that does things differently. But as far as I know, all the facts that we've collected, there's no great conspiracy to make this world round when it's really flat. It really is pretty much just the way you always thought it was. Things are roundish, and in space you have gravitational pull between all the masses. just like Newton said. And it's a pretty simple place where you get round because round is the thing with gravity, all pulling things in from all directions, tends to make the water, has more cohesion. That means the water sticks to water. Then it has adhesion, which means it sticks to other things. So when you have equal forces pulling in all directions to the center, you end up with a sphere. There isn't anything pulling it. You blow on it or put it in an airstream, and then the forces change. Now you've got other forces added to it. So it, like a comet, and comets go around. They have tails. Well, that's because there's a solar wind, just like a drop of water in a wind tunnel, so there's forces involved on it. So it has tails. So yes, we live in the world that the science tells us. And no, I don't think there's any conspiracy for it to be any way. But the bottom line is it doesn't matter. Whether it's round or flat or anything else, it just doesn't matter. That's not what's important. What's important is that you have choices to make. Things happen, you have choices, and you have to make those choices. And by the quality of your choice, you either evolve or de-evolve the quality of your consciousness. That's important. Whether that's done in a rule set that looks flat from this perspective or that perspective, or looks round from this perspective or that's just a matter of the rule set. And it's not really anything of fundamental significance. But yes, I'd say that the world is as described by, by kind of classical physics, Newtonian physics, kind of has the right description of the world and how it works. And it all kind of comes out that way. So I'm not a flat earther, but I don't really care a whole lot about it one way or the other because it's kind of off the point of what's important anyhow. And the thing I dislike about conspiracy theories is that they tend to be fear-based. Conspiracies are always about the bad guys who are keeping the secrets away from us. It's a fear-based thing. And these bad guys are trying to control us, and these bad guys are trying to manipulate us, and they're doing that for their own nefarious reasons, and all the stories of that sort. And I should say, true or not true, they're all fear-based. Now, I'm not saying there isn't any such thing as a conspiracy. Sure, there can be conspiracies. It's the way the world works. People work together for their own advantage. You can say the banks have a conspiracy. They all charge us fees for stuff that their computers do. And no man ever lifts a finger. It takes like 1 nanosecond to process that money and turn it from pounds into dollars into pesos, but yet you get charged 10% of the transaction or something when some computer spent nanoseconds doing that untouched by human hands. All right, somebody had to build and buy the computer, but it's been processing hundreds of billions of transactions enough that's long been paid for 100,000 times. But okay, so the banks are in a conspiracy to charge us money for doing nothing. All right, so what? It's life. It's what we live with, and if we want to change that, well, we need to go start seeing what we can do to modify banking laws and other sorts of things. So yes, there are conspiracies where people get together to make money and abuse us and sell us products we don't need and convince us we need these pills or those pills. But the conspiracies are mostly loose, and they're usually not all that tight, and the management isn't so bad. But that's just part of the environment we live in, that people like to take advantage of each other. The quality of consciousness is low, and if groups of people can band together to take advantage of other people and transfer resources from other people to themselves, well, it'll happen. That's the nature of us. We have low quality of consciousness, and we prey on each other. All right, I'll grant that as a basic fact of our existence. But so, I don't have to get wrapped up in the fear of it all. Oh no, the banks are out to get me. Oh, the evil banks. What should we do? And how do we fight the evil banks? You deal with them. If you want to, write letters, carry a placard says, down with the evil banks, change the finance laws, change the get rid of the feds, well, sure. Have at it. Go out there and do your best to change the world. But don't get wrapped up in the fear. Because if you get wrapped up in the fear, you become a contributor to the problem. Fear is the problem. And if you get wrapped up in that fear, whatever the conspiracy is, or whatever it is you imagine is going on, if it has a fearful component to you, the bad guys are getting us good guys and we have to fight back. See, that's back in the same role as you're the forces of good and over there are the forces of evil, and you whip out your lightsaber and you go chop them up into little pieces. It's that mentality, right? The fighting to solve the problem. And that's fear-based, and it is the problem. Okay, work to solve a problem. Go become a banker, join that institution, change it, work with it, do what you can. Recognize that it's there, okay, deal with it the best way you can. All right, maybe you find a bank that's nice. Okay, then shift all your money to the nice bank. Deal with it. Vote with your feet, but don't let it make you respond in fear. If you're cowering, under your bed at night because you think the bankers are going to come out and get you or something else, then you're part of the problem.